So like, we are live, but it's okay. Yeah, you can see the whole board.
Okay.
I mean, put it back in here. Jesus Christ. So retarded. Okay, there you go.
So most of the things, so number 5, so let me go over number 5. Number 5 is which questions? Can you tell me the questions?
Yeah. Y
is equal to what?
-2.
Negative 2.
Cosine.
Cosine.
4 over 3x
4 over 3x
minus pi
minus pi.
minus 1.
Parenthesis minus 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jing, can I see the whole board with the iPad?
Yeah, I can see.
No, the iPad.
yes.
Can iPad see the whole board?
It's just
Okay.
a little lop. It's like,
It's lopsided.
It's lopsided, but you can see
where you can see the whole board.
You don't need to fix it.
No.
Is that better?
Everyone's gonna watch it live. They see the screen.
Yo, no.
Is that better?
Yeah.
It's not gonna get any better if you try to. Just leave it, it's fine. Yeah, it was fun with me.
It's just that.
All right, so a lot of you guys will still have problem graphing, so let's go back and look at where the variable is. So we're gonna write an equation on top. So it's gonna be y is equal to a times cosine of b x minus c plus d. So we gotta figure out what a b is. In order to figure out a b, I have to factor the 4 over 3 out. Okay? So if I were to factor 4 over 3 out, what would I get? So y is equal to -2
Cosine.
cosine
4 over 3.
over 3.
Parentheses x. Then pi.
About the midline. I'm not right.
Danny. Okay, so which number I have to be in here? 4 over 3? No. 3 over 4. You think about it, if I take it out, right? I'm dividing by 4 over 3 on the x. Because that's only the way I can get 1 here. So I divided by 4 over 3. So I'm going to divide this by 4 over 3 as well. So what is pi divided by 4 over 3? So that's equal to pi times 3 over 4. So therefore it's going to be 3 over 4. And that is your, this part, that's the first part, like for a lot of you guys. So now, if you factor out, then my a, the amplitude, I'm going to go over, this is on your notes by the way, so please write this on the notes because a lot of you guys still needed this part of the notes. Amplitude is going to be absolute value of a, which is 2. And if you guys have, if you guys don't know how to do it at home, subscribe me, please. I'm trying to take on Justin Bieber.
He's ugly anyway.
Well, I'm more similar to Juicy J. Juicy J. Is that Juicy J? The one with 1 eye?
No,
That's Juicy J.
got 2 eyes.
He's got 2 eyes. He's got 1 eye. So there's a rapper with 1 eye. Freddie Wap.
Freddie
Wap.
This man died, man. I didn't heard.
He died?
I don't know, like died like from
He didn't die.
public.
Okay, so period is equal to 2 pi over b, right? So you look at a b. B is right here, which is 4 over 3. So it's equal to 2 pi divided by 4 over 3. So this divided by this. So I will rewrite it as 2 pi divided by 4 over 3 is equal to 2 pi times 3 over 4. So that's equal to 6 pi over 4. That's equal to 3 pi over 2 if I simplify it. Let me know if I'm going too fast. So that's just a period. But period does not help me find the information because period just told me how long it takes to go through the whole cycle. Now, what we're gonna do is take care of the amplitude, take a period. We had to divide this by 4 to find quarter periods. So quarter period,
No, 3 pi over 8.
3 pi over 2 here. So
No, I'm talking about the quarter period.
3 pi over 2, I'm gonna divide it by 4. If I divide it by 4, I'm gonna get 3 pi over 2.
Wait, over 8?
Yeah, it's times 1 over 4, so that's gonna be 3 pi over 8. So here is what you guys think. So this is the increment of each changes. So if I do increment of each change, that's gonna help me easier when I solve this problem. The problem is here, I have,
Mr. Can I ask about this?
no,
Okay.
let me finish this and you can go. Okay, 3 pi over 8, here that's the each increment, but where's my starting point? Where's my starting point?
Oh, 4.
Negative 1.
3 pi over 4. So here is the phase shift. The phase shift is minus. Now some of the question I give it to you might be positive. If it's positive, it's going to start on the left side of the x-axis. But in this case, it's a negative 4 over 3. So there's a phase shift. We can write down phase shift if I wanted to. So phase shift is going to be going right. So going right, 3 pi over 4. So that means my x0 is going to be positive 3 pi over 4. But here's a problem. I'm going to add 4 times of this. I'm going to add 3 pi over 8 into here. But I cannot really adding until they have the same denominator. So I need to multiply this by what?
4.
Oh,
It's 2.
sorry.
2 over 2. You cannot just multiply by 2. You multiply by 2, you change the fractions. You multiply anything like 2 over 2 or 3 over 3 or 4 over 4, you're not changing the fractions. So that's equal to what?
6 pi over 8.
6 pi over 8. So 6 pi over 8 is easier for you to add this. So it's easier to add each time. And when you add each time, here it's going to be a lot easier. So x1 is going to be 9 pi over 8. Because this, from here to here, you're going to add the quarter periods. How many of you guys are lost?
Right next to the phase shift, what does that say?
It says going right. Yeah. Right 3 pi over 4, so that's where I start. I start at 3 pi over 4. Now I could have said left, because if this is positive, then usually inside the parentheses opposite the sign, so it's going to be going negative. It's going to go left. So here it's going to be negative 3 pi over 4. But in this case, it's okay. Am I going too fast? So I'm going to start out by x2. That's going to be at 3 pi over 8. So that's going to be 12 pi over 8. x3 is going to be what? 15 pi over 8. x4 is going to be what? 18 pi over 8. We only need 4 point to graph. And this 4 point is going to help me. So what happened is I'm going to start graphing. So where's my graph? My graph start at where? 6 pi over 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do pi over 8. So I'm going to do 6 pi. So this is 6 pi over 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then add 3 is 9 pi over 8. I have same distance. It's going to be 12 pi over 8. 15 pi over 8. And that's going to be 18 pi over 8. Now you're going to say, which grid do I use? I always use the one says pi over 4 because I will use the one that has from negative 3 pi to positive 3 pi on the top. Negative 3 pi to positive 3 pi because each grid is pi over 4. But half of the grid is going to be pi over 8. So you see here, the one that they have here was, I think the first one is, it happened at pi over 2, but this one's pi over 4. But half of this, so you're going to cut this between this half, that's going to be 1 pi over 8. So it's 2 pi over 8, 3 pi over 8, 4 pi over 8. You're going to use the one on the first page. If you use the one on the first page, it's going to be easier to graph. But that's the mean, that's what I did. So you're going to be 6 pi over 8, 6 pi over 8. Now what do I do in the next? Find midline. What is the midline? Is equal to y is equal to -1. I promise you, I tutored somebody ACT over the weekend. I tutored her on Thursday. And I kind of went over the graphing part and ACT, and she needed like a high score. She needed like a 32. But the thing that, one of the question, I swear, she told me she come back, she didn't know what was it. She said she got this equation right here, and the multiple choice basically just answer, says, where is the midline? Okay, where is the midline? What do you say? -1. But she didn't know, because I didn't go over with her, she put down the amplitude, and she got a wrong answer. But literally, that's the ACT question. They could have ACT, not SAT. SAT is not going to ask this easy, but ACT doesn't ask precalculus, but ACT does ask precalculus. So they could have just asked you midline or the amplitude. They will say, what is the amplitude? You can say 2. And that was like the easiest question on the test. I swear to you, if you recognize it, that was the easiest question. What is the period? Just 2 pi divided by 4 over 3. But they are easy questions like that. So now I'm going to start by graphing. -1. I'm going to do a midline here. Lenny, put your computer away.
I'm charging my phone.
Okay, then put it down so you don't look in the screen. Okay, so here is -1 here. Now, are we talking about cosine graph? When does a cosine graph start?
At the top. At the highest point.
But I hear it's not positive cosine. Okay, Victor, what you don't get?
How it goes from the x2 to x3.
Oh, x2 to x3, I'm just adding 3 pi over 8. So if I'm adding 3 pi, so 12 pi over 8, if I add 3 pi over 8, because that's the increment, so that's equal to, it does not 16, the bottom stay the same denominator. Does that help you?
Yeah.
Okay, so am I going too fast? Nicole, are we okay? Huh? Okay, so cosine. Cosine start at a minimum, a middle point or the maximum point? So it start at a minimum in this case because the cosine, it has a -2. So it start cosine start maximum or min according to that chart over there I have somewhere, over there on the red. So cosine is negative, so it's gonna be below 2 points. So 1, 2, this is the point I'm starting. Now I'm gonna go back to the quarter period. So from here to here is a quarter period. So it's gonna go up to here to the midline. And then go up 2 units above the midline, and come back down, and come back up. So the graph's gonna be like this. And if you can go through here, it's gonna be like this. Okay, so basically this is the cosine graph. But that's not what we're gonna learn today only. We're gonna learn more than what we have today. So we have a cosine, we say, hey, the only 2 things I'm going to teach you today is how to graph cosecant graph and secant graph. So you're going to say, how do I graph? How to graph? So you might want to write this on the notes. how to graph the secant data and cosecant of data. But we're gonna make sure we understand this. Secant of data is equal to 1 over cosine of data. And the CSC of data is equal to 1 over sine of data. If you understand those two identities, the graph is actually pretty easy. So let's look at how do I graph it. In order for me to graph secant of data, I need to graph the reciprocal function of this, which is the cosine graph. Okay? Now here's the first thing. If you graph a cosine graph, if I decide to change this question, I say, hey, right now I'm gonna just change one thing. Right now I'm gonna change into, instead of graphing this, I'm gonna do it in blue. I'm gonna graph y is equal to -2 secant of 4 over 3 x minus 3 pi over 4 minus 1. So what does secant do? The secant do you just graph cosine first. And then what you're gonna do is this. This is the part that you have to add. When cosine of data meets, that means intersect, meets the midline. Where's the midline? So can you tell me where's that at? When cosine meets the midline, where is that? -9.8, good. Because this is the midline, right? When the cosine meets that here, it's gonna create asymptotes.
Oh no.
It's gonna create an asymptote. So what happened is, you're gonna see it here, this point right here. I'm gonna point out those points for you, so that way you see it. This point, this point, this point, this point. Do you see that? When it crosses the midline, it's gonna create an asymptote, a vertical asymptote. A vertical asymptote is gonna look like this. And it's gonna create an asymptote like this. And then you just have to draw a dotted line there. And it's gonna create an asymptote right here.
So does it touch that point?
Huh?
Does it touch that point or no?
It touch, it's fine. But what happened is, now all you gotta do is, this is the hardest part. All we gotta do is invert the graph, because they are reciprocal functions. So I'm gonna write in blue, so the graph is gonna be like something like this. And then touch this point, and then go up. So this is the secant graph.
So it's the opposite? technically?
So it's opposite, there you go, technically opposite here. And it's gonna be like this. It looks like an upside down problem over and over and over again. So this is the secant graph, this is the cosine graph. I'll show you on the graph over there, so that way you can see it better. So I'm gonna show you in the screen, the actual screen here, I'm gonna show you what a graph looks like. So, guys, I need you to pay attention to what I'm doing on decimals. That's what you're gonna be doing on decimals. Cosine of 4 over 3. 4 over 3, x minus 3 pi over 4. And then minus 1. First, let's check this graph is right. Now, let's first have to check this graph is right. So here's how do you be checking your answer when you're at home. You click this wrench. Okay, you click this wrench here, and then you're gonna create the steps right here. Do you see the right hand side? There's the steps.
Yes.
I'm gonna change it to PI, and that's gonna be pi. You see that x-axis change in terms of pi's? And you're gonna graph in the midline. What's the midline here? -1, good. So now you see this graph. So let's check our cosine graph, this is right. So our cosine, according to that, is gonna be 6 pi over 8, which is 3 pi over 4. That's your minimum. So hopefully that's right. So see that 3 pi over 4? The 3 pi over 4 here? This is 3 pi over 4 and -3. That's 3 pi over 4 and -3 is right here?
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, right? And then you look at this point here, is 9 pi over 8, 9 pi over 8. And you see this point here, is 3 pi over 2. 3 pi over 2 also is 12 pi over 8. If you simplify, divided by 4, that's gonna be 3 pi over 8. So that means my cosine graph is right. Are we okay with the cosine graph? Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy and paste. We're gonna copy this same function here. I'm gonna copy it, so I'm gonna Control C, and then I'm gonna go down to here, Control V, and you look like there's a green line, but we're gonna change this cosine to what? Secant, because they are inverted.
Oh my God.
So now I'm gonna change this data because the main focus I'm focusing on is the secant graph. So the secant graph is gonna be like this, and I'm gonna join the asymptote. I'll show you what the asymptote is. See this point that's intersecting is at 3 pi over 8. So x equal to 3 pi over 8. That is my asymptote.
Things just got one more complicated.
And x equal to -3 pi over 8.
Don't worry.
And I'll give you a couple more. So where this point here intersects, see that this point intersects 9 pi over 8.
How do you grab the asymptotes?
X equal to. See where the intersect right here. Do you see that intersection? Do you see that intersection? The midline? So it's 9 pi over 8, right? So we're gonna go to x equal to 9 pi over 8.
Yeah, thanks. Yes.
So we're gonna change the data line. So that's pretty much that's all the graph is. So you see that the main character is this one, which is I'm gonna change color so that way I'm gonna change it to purple, and I'm gonna stick in the line.
Yeah, dude. It's alright. This is really nice. Let's freeze. Yeah, no.
Do you guys see this or no?
Yeah, no.
Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a secant function, and hopefully we have enough time to grab cosecant function. So we're gonna grab a cosecant first, okay? And then you guys need to help each other out. And I'll put an answer on the board so that way you can know if you did it right or wrong. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask you to grab this functions here. We're gonna name this function y is equal to, you want a secant or cosecant?
Secant. Let's do secant.
Okay, -2 secant. Let's do cosecant. Cosecant is easier.
Yeah, I'll see secant.
CSC of 2x minus pi over 3. And we're gonna do plus. We're gonna do plus. So plus is gonna change the game a little bit different. Your starting point is gonna be on the left hand side, and then we're gonna say plus 1. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab this function, and we're gonna use a pi over 6 as the grid. Pi over 6, which is the one that half grid is gonna be pi over 12. And I'm gonna give you more paper. So I don't know, did I give you an extra sheet of paper? I did, right? Okay, if you need an extra sheet of paper, I have it. I have a lot. It's gonna kill more trees, so you guys get smarter. Tree, die tree.
I didn't get that wrong.
I said that trees actually make us
Porque antes they make voltea la casa completa.
So you can become smarter, you can save more.
So they make it
Empieza a hablar español y que sabe.
How many pieces of paper do you have to
bread report papers.
How many pieces?
I'm saying you guys are cursing out Mr. Yu.
No, we're not.
I'm just kidding. I got
Yeah, it's like.
Venezuela, country with chaos.
If I divide two, if I pile them, I divide by two, it goes up.
If he does it, it's
Alright guys, I'm already messing up.
Is it cheaper than farming?
unless you offer money, save $2. In middle school, I had
Okay. I'm gonna turn off so I can curse.
Yo.